Good evening, good evening. What's good, world? What's good, what's good, what's good? So, as you can see, this live is going to be about CPS. Now, what I'm going to talk about here is very important, y'all. And, quite frankly, to be honest, I done had enough. Like, enough of this government, these people, the shit that these people are doing, and the fact that none of them see jail time, they just get slaps on the wrist. You know, we are really living in some real strange times. Some real strange times. And when I say numerous people who have spoken out about this subject, a lot of them were murdered. And we just gotta keep talking about it. We can't show fear, y'all, because that's exactly what they want. They want us to be afraid. And if we're afraid, they keep winning. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes in life, you just gotta keep pushing forward and using your voice, because we are children of God. We don't have anything to fear. So with that being said, and I apologize about the outside noise if y'all do hear that, but that's beyond my control. So, but I just hope everybody is, all right. Our world, our country is going through a lot right now. There's a lot of chemical warfare going on, a lot going on in the United States, and it's being ignored at an all-time high by the current administration. You got Bumblehead up in Ukraine. He goes to Ukraine while we having all these pipeline issues and train derailment issues with trucks, and just all types of stuff is happening right now. So please just try to open your minds and your heart and seek your knowledge and wisdom from within, because mainstream media is not talking about certain things that's really going on right now that the American people need to be aware of. And they are literally, I keep telling y'all, these people are demonic, okay? So, what demonic people do is they try to take you out any way they can. You understand what I'm saying? So, with that being said, y'all, we just gonna move forward, and God bless everybody. And I got a few slides here for y'all tonight and stuff like that. But yeah, CPS. You know, when this knowledge was first dumped on me, it really didn't surprise me, because if you really pay attention, right, in my first channel, I told y'all 800,000 children go missing in our country a year. So, if you think about it, right, how. Is this your washing here? Okay, can you move it to the dry? swear, every time when you trying to do something, boy, the devil, boy, he just. Mm-mm-mm. Just give me a second, y'all. Alright, so, like I was saying, when I told y'all 800,000 children go missing in our country, and this is just the United States. So, and that's a year, y'all. So I want you to really like open your mind and, excuse me, and understand how do these children go missing. They have to have help from somewhere. They're not just taking kids off the streets, y'all. Like, y'all gotta think about all of these organizations that they put together, all these government things that they put together, these groups and stuff like that, right? Now, the average human would think in their mind, like, yeah, right, CPS not taking kids. Listen, we got people out here that's literally experiencing this. What I'm trying to tell y'all, like, people have went through this, okay? I myself have seen some real shady shit with CPS, okay? I've seen a lot growing up, and I'm quite sure a lot of y'all have too. Now, you really have to open up your mind here, y'all, because these people is doing the most. And just to see like the behavior from CPS workers and you know these court systems, family court social workers, like this is a criminal enterprise, and it's just really sick like what these people be doing, bro, like to kids, like for money that's not going with you when you die. Like, I'm just so sick of this world. But we gonna get into it. I got like two videos that I'm gonna share with y'all, and I got this PDF file that I wanted to read to y'all too, cause this one lady, she was actually in the government, and they killed her and her husband. So, but you know what? We got to keep talking about it. We got to keep talking about it. So we gonna move forward. So for those of you who don't know, like, all right, so when I was growing up, right, I seen a lot of foster kids come and go. So for those of you who don't know, people who have foster children, they get paid. A lot of them do the right thing with the money. A lot of them don't. But what I'm trying to say to y'all is like the purpose and the point I'm trying to make here is how much money people are getting and what these organizations is doing to even get more money and to get bonuses. So like in these videos that I'm gonna show y'all tonight, I really need y'all to listen to the message. Listen to the message because this shit is real. It's real, it's happening in plain sight. It's been happening for multiple years. Multiple years. If you just take a look around your friends or your family members, start talking to people, asking questions. People, kids just don't get taken away from them. The kids that's actually in abusive homes are literally in these abusive homes. CPS don't take them, but CPS for some odd reason targets good family homes. I just don't understand that. But let me get myself out the way here so I can read this to you. But so usually when you hear a child was removed away from their parents, we've been so socially engineered to just say, well, the parents must have done something wrong for them to take the children. question. But why we don't ask what is CPS and foster care and family court are doing? And I've always paid attention growing up. I've always seen stuff. I just was like really lost as a child, but I did understand a lot of stuff, and I seen a lot of just weird stuff happening and growing up. Like, you got to really ask yourself too, how come when CPS come to want to take your child, right? How come they don't turn to a family member no more? That should be the number one thing. Who in the family could take your child before we have to take your child? That's just my opinion, but once they put a system in place to make a profit and traffic children, they then use their power to intimidate the parents, stripping them of their rights, violating families, tearing them apart without proper procedures being taken. And this is another thing too, like when they come to your houses, they intimidating y'all in your own house. You have the right to record these people at an all-time high. They are on your property. Anybody who step foot in your property and they are a government official or anybody, period, you have the constitutional right, y'all, to record them. Just like when we go into these government buildings and stuff like that, we can record them. They work for us. We don't work for them. So that's one thing everybody needs to really understand. Like, these people are supposed to be working for us, not us working for them. And if we stop showing so much fear and being afraid and start standing together and coming together as one and using our voices, we can definitely defeat this corruption. This corrupt system is a multi-million-dollar industry. Also, ask yourself, who makes the laws? Who is profiting off children being ripped from their families? Ever heard of medical kidnapping? Why do states get a cash bonus for kids being put in foster care? Adopted? More money. Ask yourself, how does CPS misplace or lose children? Why are children being placed in homes with pedophiles and worse home environments from which they were stripped from? And that's another thing a lot of people are really not aware of also. Like when CPS come and they taking your child is going with a total stranger. And it could be someone with a criminal background. They have been known for taking kids and putting kids in homes where there's pedophiles. They known for this. The truth is all out there on the internet, y'all. They known for this. This is how sick these people are. And the fact that they want to be taking photos of your child, who watching them photos? Who looking at them photos? Where are them photos going? Half the time when you in court, right? Does the judge even ask to see the photos that they took? Let's be real. Does the judge actually see the photos that y'all took, that the CPS worker took? So you got to ask yourself, what are they doing with these photos? Seriously. Like, these people got y'all so shook. It just makes no sense. No sense. Half the time, these CPS workers is showing up to people's houses not even with credentials. They look like they just got off the CDTA bus or something. They damn sure don't dress professionally no more. They dress like they coming for business. Money business. Like these people have a lack of respect for humanity and for children. These people are sick. And we need to continue to keep raising awareness about this stuff that is going on in this system because it's sickening. Now, Bill Clinton, he did something with, it says Clinton era law has distorted child protective services, parents say. So pretty much Clinton done created an act, a law or whatever, where CPS has no what's the face. They could pretty much do whatever they want, y'all. Now you gotta ask yourself, why would they make laws and stuff like that? First off, they know ain't nobody reading all them damn papers. It's about 1,000 freaking papers. So that's how they be really getting us because people don't like to read. So that's how they get you. These people be like just creating all types of laws and all types of sick shit right underneath our noses. Clinton did something with this act back then where he just really allowed CPS to just run rapid out here. Really. Just they pretty much was given the green light. The green light. And you know why nobody say nothing in the CPS little cartel? Because that's what I'm gonna call them. They're a damn cartel because of the money. It's all about money, y'all. It's all about money. It's all about money. Now, this woman that I'm about to play one of her videos, I want y'all to really listen to the message because this woman was murdered, man. And God rest her soul, her and her husband. Just hold on one second. Play this one first. I think it's longer. And that's another thing too, like a lot of people got a lot to say about Alex Jones, but the way I see it, he has told so much truth. Whether people want to see him as control
Now, I saw a YouTube video of her giving a speech, and in 5 minutes, she boiled everything down I try to explain about the CPS and the bounties on taking kids and how there's no due process.
make sure
She's State Senator 50th District. Senator Schaefer serves her constituency in 8 counties that make up 50th District in Georgia. She's got a long, illustrious career out there fighting corruption. She's also the head in her state of the Eagle Forum. And so she now joins us, and we appreciate her standing up eloquently and fighting this. And so we appreciate Senator Schaefer for coming on. Nancy, it's good to have you here with us.
Thank you. It's good to be on with you. I appreciate all you're doing.
Ma'am, I'm going to try to just sit back and shut up because I'd like you to break down, but with a little bit more time, what you gave in that speech. I know you've given a lot, but I saw this particular speech of you, I believe, before the Eagle Forum, really laying out the facts of just how unconstitutional and Kafkaesque the CPS is.
Right. Well, it is unconstitutional, and I'm sure you have many listeners that know that children are being taken away from their parents in a ruthless kind of behavior by caseworkers and social workers and investigators, and the bureaucracy is very huge. That also includes lawyers and judges and therapists and others who take these children from their parents without a cause. And of course, we know that money is being made because of this, and And I'm convinced without a shadow of a doubt that the parents across this country need to be warned of the dangers of the Child Protective Services nationwide. You want me to just continue on, don't you?
Sure, Senator, lay it
Well,
out.
the Department of Child Protective Services has become a protected empire that we see going on around us, and it's built on taking children and separating families. As a matter of fact, I could throw in here now that it appears to me that the family is going to have to be destroyed in order for the one world government to completely develop. But this is the taking of children by a protected empire, and it's this is not to say today that there are not those children who are really being abused, who need to be removed from the wretched situations that they may be in.
But it needs to be done through due process.
Yes, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the families that are having children removed from them with no cause, and then there is no due process available to them after this has happened. And in one county in my district, I had 37 families brought together one Saturday morning in the library to allow them to, without any press and without any Child Protective Services pressure there, to tell their stories. And it was absolutely unbelievable to hear these parents, single dads, single mothers, telling and other parents telling their stories of how their children had been picked up in the middle of the night, off of the school buses, out of schools, out of hospitals, even while they are nursing, and these families had never seen those children again. You have never seen such agony, such suffering, and such crying. And we had 50 families standing outside the door that were not allowed to come in because we already had 37 families inside. It was truly just seeing the work of the Gestapo coming against these families and taking their children from them, never to be seen again. It was very, very enlightening, that day was, when we saw what was happening in this one Child Protective Services department in one county in my district in Georgia. And not only that, but they had a separate business going on where they required all of these parents to come in multiple times and have drug tests. And they charged the parents every time. So they had a separate business going on. They had already made over $100,000 in this business.
Well, Senator, stay there. Let's come back and break down the abuses of the Bill of Rights Constitution. For those that don't know, they set up at the turn of the last century these family courts that don't follow the Bill of Rights Constitution. They were actually set up to carry out racial hygiene. The Eagle Forum, State Senator, 50th District. Well, this is a apropos song to have coming on right now. You can throw your rock, hide your hand, working against the people, and it's just amazing what the establishment.
All right. I gotta be making sure that y'all can hear. So, like, Nancy was murdered, and she was I forgot what she was. What was she? She was she was in Georgia. She was a senator. Yep. So she's been known about this for a while. And she has spoken up her whole career. Like, she literally dedicated her career to this. And y'all already know what they did. It's crazy. It's crazy. Now, for those of you, right, that have been paying attention and, like know people that have a child that is in foster care, I want y'all to ask yourself, right? If you think about it, the majority of the time, all these kids that they take, right? You gotta ask yourself, why are these kids being put on medication? And that's a fact. A lot of these kids that CPS is taking, y'all, these kids be normal. But in order to keep the money flowing so Big Pharma, Big Pharma can get paid, they will falsely diagnose these children with stuff to feed them medications. This is a known fact. I've seen it. Like, this is all a money game to these people. They don't care about kids, y'all. That's why they are targeting these kids like this. And us humans. These people not human. These people are not human at all. This is pure legal kidnapping, medical kidnapping. And for those of you that don't know either, from my understanding, every major hospital, like big hospital, you know how every state has a main hospital? From my understanding, they all have a CPS unit in the bottom of the hospital. CPS has a leasing office. So you gotta ask yourself, why? Like, did y'all even know that? Like, that is real alarming. So a child can slip and fall and scratch themselves on like a stick or something outside, and the parent bring the child to the hospital just to get it looked at, make sure there's no, infections or anything like that. You know what the doctor gonna do? They gonna tell you they be right back. They gonna go in their office and use their phone and call right the hell downstairs to CPS, and CPS will show up within 30 minutes, knowing damn well they downstairs. This is some real shit, y'all. Like, we gotta wake up. There's been numerous people talking about this situation, and we gotta keep shedding light on it. Keep shedding light on it. Because this is serious. Like, 800,000 children going missing in our country, and nobody say nothing. Nobody asks no questions. No wonder I don't have any friends. I don't trust nobody. This is sick, man. This is sick. I've seen so much growing up as a child. So much. It's crazy. But before we get into this next video, you know, it's going to definitely take us, y'all. It's going to take us to really use our voices and not be afraid. And not be afraid. Because, make sure y'all can see that. It's really going to take us, y'all, to bring this stuff to the light. Still, it has to be in the light. It's been in the dark for way too long, y'all. Way too long. Alright, y'all can see.
Thank you, dear Phyllis, and thank you to all of you. I have served in the Georgia State Senate for 4 years. One of my greatest pleasures, other than my sonogram bill, was getting the resolution passed to stop the North American Union. However, for 4 years, I have been confronted with families struggling to remove their children from the clutches of pro of Child Protective Services. I wrote a scathing report last year on the corruption in Child Protective Services, and an update and copies are out on the table. During the last session of the Georgia General Assembly, I introduced Senate Bill 415 relating to juvenile proceedings, and copies of that bill are attached to the report on the tables. The Bill 415 called for the time allotted for the Department of Human Resources to provide emergency care to a child without a court order to be reduced from 7 days to 72 hours. It required a court order to enter the residence of a parent or guardian to seize a child. It called for family court to be open to the public. Confidentiality and secrecy in family court protects the wrong people. It provided that immunity in the system shall not extend to the seizures of children that are found to be in violation, nor to the administration of medication to a child over the objection of the parent or custodian, and it provided the state from applying for obtaining, receiving, or accepting adoption incentive payments under the Federal Adoption and Safe Families Act of 1997. The Department of Child Protective Services has become a protected empire built on taking children and separating families. This is not to say that there are not those children who do need to be removed from wretched situations and need protection. However, my report is concerned with the children and parents caught up in legal kidnapping. Having worked with probably 300 cases statewide and hundreds across the country, and in nearly every state, I am convinced there is no accountability in Child Protective Services. I have come to several conclusions. 2 or 3 are: 1, that poor parents, not always, but oftentimes, are targeted to lose their children because they do not have the wherewithal to hire an attorney and fight the system. That caseworkers and social workers are very often guilty of fraud. They withhold and destroy evidence. They fabricate evidence, and they seek to terminate parental rights unnecessarily. That the separation of families and the snatching of children is growing as the business grows, because state and local governments have grown accustomed to having these taxpayer dollars to balance their ever-growing budgets. That the bureaucracy is huge. Look at who is getting paid: state employees, attorneys, court investigators, guardian ad litems, court personnel, and judges. There are psychologists, therapists, psychiatrists, counselors, foster parents, adoptive parents, and on and on. All are looking to the children in state custody to provide job security. That the Adoption and the Safe Families Act, set in motion first in 1974 by Walter Mondale and later in 1997 by President Bill Clinton, offered cash bonuses to the states for every child they adopted out of foster care. In order to receive the adoption incentive bonuses, local Child Protective Services would need more children. They must have merchandise that sells, and they must have plenty so the buyer can choose. Some counties often offer $4,000 to $6,000 bonus for each child adopted out to strangers, and an additional $2,000 for a special needs child. Employees work to keep the federal dollars flowing. But that is only the beginning figure in the formula in which each bonus is multiplied by the percentage that the state has managed to exceed its baseline adoption number. Therefore, states and local communities work hard to reach their goals for increased numbers of adoptions for children in foster care. As you can see, this program is offered from the very top and is run by Health and Human Resources. This is why victims in Child Protective Services get no help from their legislators. It explains why my bill, Senate 415, suffered such defeat in the Judicial Committee, and why I was cut off at every juncture, and why I was defeated myself last month for my re-election by another Republican. That tax dollars are being used to keep this gigantic system afloat. Many grandparents have called me to get custody of their grandparents. before being lost in the system. Grandparents who lose their grandchildren to strangers have lost their own flesh and blood. The children lose their family heritage, and grandparents and parents too lose the connection of their heirs. And that the National Center on Child Abuse and Neglect in 1998 reported that 6 times more children died in foster care than in the general public, and that once removed to official safety, these children are far more likely to suffer abuse, including sexual molestation, than in the general population. Think what that number is today, 10 years later. Here are a couple of the recommendations on my list. Call for an independent audit of all state child protective services and for a federal congressional hearing on child protective services. Abolish the federal and state financial incentives that have turned child protective services into a business that separates families for money. I have witnessed such injustice and harm brought to so many families that I am not sure if reform of the system is even possible. The system cannot be trusted. It does not serve the people. It obliterates families and children simply because it has the power to do so. What I have said to you in these few minutes is that we must confront the fraud in child protective services. Child Protective Services seizes children using the very system that is paid for by the taxpayer, who actually believes it is used to protect abused and neglected children. The bureaucracy of workers benefit financially by a system that converts children into cash while destroying their families and their lives. No child who emerges from the system can ever be sound or whole. Many disappear and never are ever heard from again. God will not stand for what is happening to our children and our families. His heart beats for these children. He will lift up the downtrodden. What is happening in America regarding child protective services is a criminal political phenomenon, and it must be brought to an end. Please join me in working to help set our children and our families free. To whom much is given, much is required. As you pray for this nation, pray for the upcoming election and for our national financial crisis. Please pray for our children and for our families. We all must press on and win this race for America. Thank you very much.
So, I don't know, y'all. I'll tell you one thing, we gotta do better. We definitely have to do better. And actually, before we move forward, I'm gonna try to pull up something so y'all can see, because a lot of people don't understand stuff unless they actually see it. So let me see if I can pull something up that I've been watching. You know, we as a collective have got to stick together. You know, we do have children that are being abused, and people don't even say or speak up about that. And the fact that they just ripping people, children, away from them for pure stupidity reasons, intimidating family members and like parents and stuff. Like, come on. This is echoing. So we about to watch this. I want y'all to see the demeanors in how these people act. Like, especially when you recording them, there's a reason they don't want you to record them. You understand what I'm saying? So, let me pull this up. And there is numerous videos out here on the internet, y'all. Numerous videos. I want y'all to just watch this girl. Just watch her whole demeanor. And then the majority of them come to your crib and they be so unorganized. They ain't got this paperwork, that paperwork to show for anything. Oh, I forgot. You forgot? But you want to take my child? You forgot, but you want to take my child. Make it make sense.
No, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I mean, what? I'm not sure why they want to take her.
So, we have staffed with our office, our supervisor, our attorney, and the guardian ad litem. And we are going to be removing the kids from your care, and we're going to be placing them with Clark. So all three kids are going to be placed with Clark.
For how long?
I cannot give you a date. I think this is Rob. Hi, Rob. Okay, you're fine. I just wanted to check and see. Ann and Ella just got back to the house, so Ella just went inside to pack some stuff, and so I just wanted to kind of check and see where you were at. Okay. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. So Rob's going to be here in about 10 minutes, and he'll take Ella over to Clark's house. And Clark is on his way back to the house as well, because Mark has just been released from the hospital.
Yeah.
So, the concerns have been that Ella's still not in school.
You said you had till next Friday. Midwest Academy just called this afternoon.
I know. I'm just saying that is part of the reason.
Well, she doesn't have to go to school in Indiana.
Okay. We're not going to.
She doesn't have.
argue
She can be
about
homeschooled,
that
which she
point.
is.
So that is part of the issues that we have had. More than that, so is the issues in regards to Mark's medical care. Mark is not appropriately receiving treatment
Yes, he
for
is.
his asthma. I understand that you're saying that, but that's not even what he's reporting to us.
He told me you tricked him.
Well, and you can feel that way, and you're welcome to talk to your attorney about that
We
as
will.
well. But in talking with the medical professionals that have been watching and watching him and seeing him, he has not been given that medical treatment that he needs. That, just like you say, if he is not appropriately treated for, one of the things that you reiterated to us is that he could have sudden death.
That was according to his pulmonologist.
Okay, but that's something that you've continued to reiterate to us.
Well, that's not going to happen. Not if now. If he goes to Clark, it might.
Well,
But you'll
why
be
would you say
responsible
that?
at that point
And why would you say that?
because he uses drugs. You know that.
I know
He's
that
not. He leaves them unsupervised, and Sydney drinks alcohol. And this gentleman here has helped me on an occasion with a runaway and a belligerent husband.
So
You're putting them with a person that is irresponsible. He's not going to take care of my children, but I'm going to fight for them very hard starting tomorrow morning, because you're making a huge mistake. My son needs me for his care. He always has. I'm the one that stays up with him. I can't help that Clark left in May. I can't help that. But I've been the primary caregiver the entire time we've had these children. I breastfed them till they were 2-3 years old. I chose to homeschool them because I love them, and I would not let anything happen to my little boy, especially because he has suffered enough, and he does not want to live without his mother. But you told me, you promised me that this would never happen.
I did not make any type of promise like that to you. I did tell you that we do whatever we can to avoid having to remove kids from their parents.
But this is why he had asthma, and he's going to have more asthma, and Clark can't properly treat him.
Okay, well, we have worked with Clark. Like I said, I'm not going to argue with you about that. We are
That's
choosing to
fine.
place all three of the kids with
I'll pray.
Clark.
I'll pray for you. I'll pray for them. Pray for
And
you especially. 'cause-
so what I have to do is I'm going to be reading your rights because we are removing the kids from you. So my attorney is also going to be reaching out to your attorney as well, so they will have the different information we have to. I'm sure you'll choose to reach out to them. But you will not be allowed to have any type of unsupervised contact with the kids. So
Why? Because I might administer albuterol when he's suffering.
we will be putting in somebody to be able to facilitate visits between you and the kids so that you can still see them. And I will start looking for that tomorrow to arrange that. So, in accordance with Indiana Code IC 31342 or IC 31344, the Hamilton Local DCS office has taken your children into custody and has filed a petition alleging that your children are children in need of services or CHINs pursuant to IC 313446. You are hereby advised that you have the following rights. You have the right, 1, to a detention hearing held by a court within 48 hours of the child's removal from the home, excluding weekends and legal holidays, and pursuant of IC 313451, and to request the return of the child at that hearing. 2, to be represented by an attorney, cross-examine witnesses, and present evidence on your own behalf. You have the right to be represented by a court-appointed attorney at your request if the court finds that you do not have sufficient financial means to obtain someone to represent you. 3, not to make any statements that may incriminate you and any such statements that may be used during a court proceeding on a petition alleging that your child is in need of services. 4, to request that you have your case reviewed by the Child Protection Team in accordance with IC 313336. And 5, to be advised that after July 1st, 1999,
All right, so as you can see, I don't know if y'all was able to see, but she had the popo there with her, and that's another thing too. Like, you have some cops that see right through the bullcrap, but then you do have cops that just mad ignorant, down with it, like crazy. I'm telling y'all, these people crazy, man. I'm trying to find the video that I was watching. And like another thing too, right? Mad kids come up missing once they hit CPS's system. They losing children. How does a government thing lose children, y'all? Please ask yourself that. Come on. This is the one right here. I wanted y'all to see this one right here. Telling y'all, it's time that we wake up. This is crazy. They've been doing this for so long, and they use laws and acts and all types of stuff put in place because they know people not gonna read stuff.
This is CPS taking Rebecca. And Rebecca, do you want to leave the house? Rebecca, do you want to leave the house? Do you want to stay here? If Kina were to leave, so that way you can stay home. Do you want to do that? Do you want to, if
The only thing I want is me and Kina's sister.
Well, if one of you had to leave, who would you rather it be? Me?
Yeah.
I hope you're proud of yourself. I'm videotaping this, and I will take you to court.
I want y'all to pay attention to this CPS worker's smirk on her face. Like a lot of these people are demonic, yo. They behavior crazy. I done seen so many videos these last few weeks just watching them and like they body language and they behavior. It's just pure sickening.
Hopefully, I'll have your job. Oh, you can laugh. I saw that, ma'am. I saw that. You laughed.
Don't
You
worry,
smirked.
Certain people that are with her don't even think they think they're dicks in it.
I have some clothes from that other stuff that what was it called? A
Yeah, all because I threatened a lawyer. All because I threatened a
yeah,
lawyer.
what Dad, what was that thing that I called respite? Yeah, I have some other clothes from respite.
Okay.
She needs her DS.
Do you have a jacket or a sweater or something? We
Yeah.
can help her out with.
She needs
It's
her
supposed to be 70
DS.
today, but it's not
She
70.
needs her DS.
Yep, I don't have to. Does she have
It's in the car.
Does she have
Charger
medicine
station.
she needs to take?
Yes.
Yes, can I have that too?
No, you can get that through Pathways.
But Dad,
You don't want to be cooperative with me. I'm not going to be cooperative with
She
you.
needs her medicine.
Dad, where's the other piece of this?
Actually, I don't have the other piece of that.
I have the.
No.
Do you have another? Do you have the other piece? Do you have another?
I think
piece
I
of-
do actually.
Okay.
The charging the phone?
Like it's kind of like.
Yeah.
falling
Yeah,
out.
How many
Plug it
medications does
in
she
and then
take?
you plug it in the wall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it quite a few?
It's a few.
Is it a daily thing or?
Yeah, it's a daily thing.
So it's something she needs to.
It's something she needs. But if they think that they can take better care of her, she can get her medicine through Pathways.
Well, it's not really about them taking better care of her. One having one.
If they think they can take better care, well,
So she needs medicine, but you won't give it to us.
no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if she needs medicine, I'll give it to her.
Can we have it?
I'll give it to her. I'll provide it for her. I won't provide it for you, but I'll provide it for her.
All right. Ready, Rebecca?
Now, Rebecca, do you want me to provide you with the medicine or with them with the medicine? Because I'll do it according to what you would rather do, because I think these people need a life.
I guess yeah.
Yes, I'll get it for you.
They smoke drugs too. That's endangered too. I'm just saying.
I'm giving them to her.
Okay, thank you.
These are the pills that are Rebecca's pills, because they all are like this, because that way we keep them separate from ours. And I'm providing them to her because they are her medication.
My D.
Yeah, she knows how to take
I just say D whenever I have that.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm following my Bible. And even though there's nothing in here, I want to take it because my best friend decided gave it to me. So
And I hope you'll enjoy. I hope you'll enjoy your smirking face in court.
Hey, Rebecca, come on.
You want to walk out with them? I'll give them a case.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was going to ask.
my friends know that
Just go ahead and hold on. and we can do that. All right.
Do you love getting high?
So I want y'all to like keep in mind, right? The correct term to use is legal kidnapping. These people are nuts. This one right here. This is the one I was watching last night too. I apologize about that. This is the one where she don't want to be recorded. Hold on, let me share the screen. Yeah, man. They've been doing this for a while. Doctors all up in it, police officers, CPS workers, family court, judges. It's crazy. We're not going to watch this whole one because there's something else I wanted to show y'all too. I just wasn't trying to make this video too long.
So, if you guys just will give me 1 second here. Okay, I'm sorry. Say that again. This is my property. This is in my house. Legally, I'm allowed to.
The fact that we are part of the executive court means that we are not allowing anybody to videotape. So if we say that we're not allowing you to videotape, then you have to abide by that.
Okay, well, you know what my understanding of the law. So.
The other thing is that you're under jurisdiction of DCFS, Children's Services. So because Children's Services are involved, we can come in and assess and see what's going on.
Well, that's fine. Why can't we videotape them?
Because we're not allowing any videotaping. Why? That we're not allowing any videotaping.
Why?
Because that we're not.
Explain why.
Will you be able to provide us with paperwork in which stating that we are not allowed to videotape?
The fact that I'm stating that
I need paperwork proof. I'm sorry.
Okay, but the thing is that you're under jurisdiction, so that's a thing.
Okay, well, this is my house, and no matter what, there's cameras
Sure,
in
it
it.
is your house, it is your place.
So do we need to? Are you saying that we should probably go and see a civil rights attorney right now, then?
Sure, you can.
Because I mean, I'm pretty sure it's our civil right to record in our house if you want to. And you know what? This is protecting ourselves and our children.
I'm protecting my
Okay.
children right now.
And you guys are building a case against her, correct? You guys have a whole file of everything that you can put recommendations from that she's asked for and that she did not give her.
And on top
She
of
gave us
that,
court paperwork, which we have plenty of copies of court paperwork, you know? And she needs to be able to defend herself in court. And if you guys aren't providing her with what you are making your recommendations from, she's not able to defend herself in court. Okay, and that's what she's asked her for. And it also took her 2 months to get any kind of supervisor's number from her, which we have recordings of it all. Phone recordings,
Right.
video recordings. I have last time she came here when she purposely gave us a wrong number. Okay, so that is not ethical. Okay, does that make sense to you? Does that sound ethical to you to give us the wrong number over and over and over again, to taking them 2 months to get a hold of you because she won't give us the correct number? Does that sound?
okay, well, I would like to go through all of this, but I can't do
That's
it.
why we want you here. is
So
saying.
unless you guys are gonna, leave and come back with something saying that
And I don't want to do that.
Be-
The thing
you're
is
gonna
that you're
come
under
back
our
with-
jurisdiction as as clients of ours, okay, you have to follow what the court is asking us to do.
Okay, and as her job, she should give me
You see where you're-
your
She's
number,
not helping.
and
She's here causing a scene in our apartment complex.
which is a lot of things that we need to talk about.
Company that lives right next door to us. Okay, and we had our whole complex here is under video surveillance. So as soon as you walk in the door, you're agreeing to be video under surveillance. So you don't. I mean, like, we can't make the apartment company shut down their video cameras whenever you guys come over here. Okay. So
Recording was saying that we're not giving you permission to record, but you're recording anyway because it's not recorded.
But this is in my house.
also, and it's
And remember, you tried to record us
house, though.
inside of here too.
And I asked you if you wanted to come to our office.
And no, that's not okay. I'm not coming to the office. We're here to talk. This is my home. And honestly, we shouldn't be stuck in the position where we're talking about this lady's, the way she's been acting. Yeah, very much so.
Right now, she's acting in my body.
No, not right now, but every last visit she has.
And how has she been acting for us?
Okay, well, would you like to sit down and we could, go on with
You
our,
cannot continue to record.
okay, well,
You
okay, well, this is in my house.
I'm asking you to take.
And I'm asking you nicely, okay? If you could come back with a piece of paper stating it. And I don't understand why you would want to come back with the police when we have, videos of what she has done. We have done nothing. I've never been in trouble. Nothing. I've done nothing wrong. And honestly, the view stopped from her when look at me. I should not be like this. And this is because of her. It's not fair.
And she yells at our apartment manager and tells our business, the property management company, calls them, makes them have to go and get their legal department involved because they want to make sure the legalities of everything. Like, I mean, that's because of her causing a scene outside of our door. And also, not only that, but she leaves like housing crap out in front of our house. Like, so our property, that same day that she got into all the
Which I have proof. I have the note.
this paper right here.
And it wasn't written very nicely. It was. I have gotten numerous notes. Hold on, babe. I've gotten numerous notes from numerous workers. Everything has always been nice. I have never once had a problem with any workers, ever. Okay, you could go through my case and see that. Okay, but for some reason, this caseworker, I have no idea why, has a problem with me. Okay, I don't know if it has something to do with at the other apartment complex when you were going through my window, or when you made me tell my story of what happened to me 3 years ago when I was beaten and abused in front of my babies. I don't know what it is, because you didn't try to get a hold of me before you put a warrant out for my arrest.
You know what? If you're not going to stop recording, then we're going to leave.
Or who can you guys come back with? I mean, like, what can we do? Okay.
I need to take pictures of the kids.
And that's another thing too. Like, she had came by one time and she was going to take pictures of the kids, and she didn't get you. You've never given me a card with your phone number on it. You've never came here with a badge. Nothing. The only phone number I have of this lady is on a ripped piece of paper. That is not fair. And if she would have just given me your phone number, we could have worked on maybe switching my caseworker and figuring out what else is happening. I mean, you guys are making me feel horrible and everything. You guys are supposed to be empowering me, not making me feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Like scared and stuff. It's wrong. My kids shouldn't be scared.
I think one of your main concerns is that the case should have been closed, and this is tired of the state of Orange County. This is domestic violence place. You just kind of feel like it's a department.
Over in Orange County, everything was perfect, okay? They were coming to my house. I had great workers. They got me through everything, and they did make me stronger as a person. And that's why I'm here today with a new family and new babies. Okay? And I had Troy Earnhardt, and he sat there and he was gonna told me that everything was good. He was gonna go to court, and that hopefully they won't transfer the case. They knew that I moved to Long Beach to protect my babies from their father. Come here, Tilly. Take a picture of her. Did you get it? Okay. How many are you going to take? Would you like to give me your phone number? And I could, you remember, all I wanted was your email, so I could take those pictures for you and send them to you. Like, I am so all about working with you guys, and I just feel like you haven't done that for me.
But you do know that your case is open, right?
I want you guys to give me everything you've ever mailed me. If you guys would give me, I want to know why Helen you guys didn't open my open file that you're saying I have. Why didn't you guys open it and learn that? I told Helen that I was moving down the street. What, a block? I told Helen that, the incompetence of your guys' workers should not be reflecting on me and my kid's life. So can you guys get a hold of Helen somehow? I mean, this is wrong. Well, that's wrong. It's wrong that you guys are doing this. So when can you get me some kind of paperwork telling me that I can't record in my own home, because every time someone comes in here, I will probably be recording. So like, what can we do? And you can't take my kids away because I'm recording you guys. Okay, well then what if I just didn't tell you guys? What happens then?
Well, we would ask every single time.
Okay, and what about the times before that?
That it's not valid in any court because
Because you're saying so?
No, it's part of us being in a court jurisdiction.
So, because you guys don't want the proof of abuse getting out there. Well, you don't know that. You haven't sat down and gone through everything that's happened. See, like, and it's like, honestly, all she could have done was just, how long have you been her supervisor, may I ask? 3 months? Okay, and how long has she had your number for? Your direct line, like how long has she had your phone number for? Since she came with you. So don't you think when I asked you for her number, you would have given it to me? You did not. And I have proof, and I have recordings.
You're blatantly lying right now.
And it's not fair. I'm not going to get in trouble. I don't think she should look at me like a mean person, because I'm not. I didn't do anything.
It's so not fair.
I have done everything you guys wanted.
Right. You don't even know. You're coming in here with her side and only her side, and you're attacking us because we're trying to protect our little babies and our family. All right? She is not a very nice person. And from what I've seen and what I've dealt with, I've been there for the phone calls and for her coming to this house, and it is not nice.
And on top of that,
she's not a nice lady.
You know, the neighbors.
I'm saying this right in front of her. She's sitting right. I'm not afraid to say this in front of her. She's not a nice lady. She's lied and manipulated us. We shouldn't have taken 2 months to get and not even the right number. Not even your right number. She did not give you. I mean, what is that? How much further do you need?
I mean, do you
like that's like admitting guilt right there? That it took 2 months. We didn't even get the right number. She had to call somebody else and get the number.
The number that she was giving me was someone else's number.
Like, does that sound legit?
And I had to call her 1,000 times.
Professional person to you? Does it?
I don't know what she said to you. I don't know.
Well, we
okay, but you're her supervisor. When can we watch them? When can we listen? I told you this was going to be a long time.
So you don't want to see your employee. You don't want to see the evidence of your employee acting in a improper manner.
Unless until
I
you turn off the video. Again, why can't you also just think about us and what we're going through?
what are you guys going through? These are my babies. What's more important than you guys is my babies.
Go full faith. When I'm asking you to stop videotaping. If you stop videotaping, then I'll look to see what you're doing. But what you videotape different. But I'm asking for you to also respect what I'm asking.
Because you don't want us to get the proof of saying everything that's happened.
I'm fine with looking at it, but I'm asking for you to stop recording. And I will sit here and watch what you have.
So what happens after this? Are you going to change my caseworker?
I'll tell you one thing, y'all. If there's one thing these people don't like, it's you recording them. You gotta ask yourself why they don't want to be recorded. If you have nothing to hide, right? I'll tell you all day, you could record me all day. They obviously got something to hide. So this is a article I had found online. It says CPS workers arrested charged for removing kids from parents without court oversight. The article says 3 current and former employees of a child services agency in North Carolina were arrested this week and indicted with over 3 dozen felony and misdemeanor charges related to its alleged practice of separating children from their families without proper judicial oversight. Carolina Public Press reports that among the former and current workers arrested on Monday was Cindy Palmer, the former director of the Cherokee County Department of Social Services and wife of Cherokee County Sheriff Derek Palmer. The other 2 are former Child Protective Unit Supervisor David Hughes and former agency attorney Scott Lindsay. The indictment follows 2 years of investigations and legal action from parents who said their children were unlawfully removed from their homes by the agency's use of coercion. According to the independent news outlet, the practice of removing children from homes without judicial oversight is said to have occurred in the county for over a decade before the state intervened in 2017. So it goes to show you how long they have been just violating the parents' constitutional rights at an all-time level. I'm about to get off this live, y'all, because I'm getting real annoyed from the outside noise right now. It's like purposely being done. I'll tell you, boy, I'll tell you. But if you look on the screen, I got a few articles up there for y'all to read. One says, U.S. Today exposes Florida doctor medically kidnapping children and destroying lives. You gotta, pay attention and understand that these doctors have a lot of power, y'all. Once they make a call, it's a wrap. You could be a loving, caring, kind parent. You could even be talking to them calm and collective. They still gonna take your child. That's just how these people do it. It's all a money game. But telling you, it's a whole money game, y'all. A whole money game. Before we get into this last video, I just want to share Nancy Schaefer's her PDF file that she had put together. It's 7 pages long. I'm not gonna read all 7 pages, but I will read the first like 2, just so you can get an understanding and insight of what she was doing and how she was fighting and raising awareness for the American people. You can see it fine. Alright, so the State Senate, Atlanta, Georgia. From the legislative desk of Senator Nancy Schaefer, 50th District of Georgia. This was written November 16, 2007, updated September 25th, 2008. The corrupt business of Child Protective Services. And I believe this drop right here is what got her killed. And it's just sad because she was a sweet person. We need more people like her that's actually in the system speaking out. But I see why people become put in fear. But if we all be in fear, it just keeps it going. It doesn't help anything. So I'm going to read some of this. It says, my introduction into Child Protective Service cases was due to a grandmother in an adjoining state who called me with her tragic story. Her 2 granddaughters had been taken from her daughter who lived in my district. Her daughter was told wrongly that if she wanted to see her children again, she should sign a paper and give up her children. Frightened and young, the daughter did. Let me turn on this. I hear it too much. That if she wanted to see her children again, she should sign a paper and give up her children. Frightened and young, the daughter did. I have since discovered that parents are often threatened into cooperation of permanent separation of their children. The children were taken to another county and placed in foster care. The foster parents were told wrongly that they could adopt the children. The grandmother then jumped through every hoop known to man in order to get her granddaughters. When the case finally came to court, it was made evident by one of the foster parents' children that the foster parents had, at any given time, 18 foster children, and that the foster mother had an inappropriate relationship with a caseworker. In the courtroom, the juvenile judge acted as though she was shocked and said the 2 girls would be removed quickly. They were not removed. Finally, after much pressure being applied to the Department of Family and Children Services of Georgia, DFCS, the children were driven to South Georgia to meet their grandmother, who gladly drove to meet them. After being with their grandmother 2 or 3 days, the judge, quite quiet out of the blue, wrote up a new order to send the girls to their father, who previously had no interest in the case and who lived on the West Coast. The father was in adult entertainment. His girlfriend worked as an escort, and his brother, who also worked in the business, had a sexual charge brought against him. Within a couple of days, the father was knocking on the grandmother's door and took the girls kicking and screaming to California. The father developed an unusual relationship with the former foster parents and soon moved to the southeast. The foster parents began driving to the father's residence and picking up the little girls for visits. The oldest child had told her mother and grandmother on 2 different occasions that the foster father molested her. To this day, after 5 years, this loving, caring blood relative grandmother does not even have visitation privileges with the children. The little girls are, in my opinion, permanently traumatized, and the young mother of the girls was so traumatized with shock when the girls were first removed from her that she has never completely recovered. The mother has rights, but the father still has custody of the children. Throughout this case, and through the process of dealing with multiple other mismanaged cases of the Department of Family and Children Services, I have worked with other desperate parents across the state of Georgia and in many other states because their children were taken for no cause and they have no one with whom to turn. I have witnessed ruthless behavior from many caseworkers, social workers, investigators, lawyers, judges, therapists, and others, such as those who pick up the children. I have been stunned by what I have seen and heard from victims all across this land. In this report, I have focused mainly on the Georgia Department of Family and Children Services. However, I believe Child Protective Services nationwide has become corrupt and that the entire system is broken beyond repair. I am convinced parents and families should be warned of the dangers. The Department of Child Protective Services, known as the Department of Family and Children Services in Georgia and other titles in other states, has become a protected empire, built on taking children and separating families. This is not to say that there are not those children who do need to be removed from winched situations and need protection. However, this report is concerned with the children and parents caught up in legal kidnapping, ineffective policies, and an agency that on certain occasions would not remove a child or children when the child was enduring torment and abuse. In one county in my district, I arranged a meeting for 37 families to speak freely and without fear. These poor parents and grandparents spoke of their painful, heart wrenching encounters with DFCS. Their suffering was overwhelming. They wept and cried. Some did not know where their children were and had not seen them in years. I had witnessed the Gestapo at work, and I witnessed the deceitful conditions under which children were taken in the middle of the night, out of hospitals, off of school buses, and out of homes. In one county, a private drug testing business was operating within the agency's department that required many drug tests from parents and individuals for profit. It has already made over 100,000. Due to being exposed, several employees in this particular office were fired. However, they have now been rehired either in neighboring counties or in the same county again. According to the calls I am now receiving, the conditions in that county are returning to the same practices that they had before the light was shown on their evil deeds. Having worked with probably 300 cases statewide and now hundreds and hundreds across this nation and in nearly every state, I am convinced there is no responsibility and no accountability in Child Protective Services system. Now I'm gonna just breeze through the rest, and I'm gonna put the link to this in the description. So for those of you that would like to read this on your own, but I told y'all they have been doing this for a very long time. I mean, it's pretty much common sense if you ask yourself, how do 800,000 children go missing? Mm-mm-mm. It's crazy. We gotta do better, humanity. We definitely have to do better. This is the part right here that I was looking for. I'm read this part right here. That the Adoption and the Safe Families Act, that's the act that I was telling y'all about in the beginning when I showed y'all Bill Clinton, set in motion first in 1974 by Walter Mondale and later in 1997 by President Bill Clinton. They offered cash bonuses to the states for every child they adopted out of foster care. In order to receive the adoption incentive bonuses, local child protective services need more children. They must have merchandise, children that sells, and you must have plenty so the buyer can choose. This is crazy. Some counties are known to give a 4,000 to 6,000 bonus for each child adopted out to strangers, and an additional 2 Gs for a special needs child. Employees work to keep the federal dollars flowing. Mm, mm, mm. And you gotta ask yourself, right? For them to kill this woman and her husband, it all makes sense. Who would know better to expose the crimes of the government? The people in the government. God bless her soul. Legal kidnapping. So for those of you that don't understand why President Trump signed that what was that? It was a executive order for human trafficking. This is why he signed that. This is one of the reasons why. But this is why y'all don't like him. This is why nobody likes Trump. Because he the only one standing up. You can say what you want about President Trump. That's your opinion. I don't care. But what I will say is he has been the only person I know that actually stood up to these frauds, and he fighting the system. I'm telling y'all, this is crazy. But before we get into this last video, I just want to finish my slides. So this here says, whistleblowers reveal CPS child kidnappings in Kentucky adoption business. And there's a little article here, y'all can read that. So this is just something I put together just in case anybody does have any encounters with CPS until these people get shut down. But if CPS comes knocking, record the whole time. You have the right. Don't let them into your house. Ask to see paperwork and their credentials. Don't just be allowing them to take photos of your child. Ask who sees the photos and where will they be distributed. Ask questions. Don't just allow them to intimidate you with their scare tactics. Don't sign anything you don't understand or have not read. Tell them you will notify your attorney. Now, if y'all see in the videos that I showed you how shook they get when you say that you want to record it, they don't want you to record because they know they can't do what they were really sent there to do. This is a business. CPS is a business, and it don't serve us. So, this is the act that she was talking about with Bill Clinton. And it's public knowledge. It's online, so you can look it up yourself. These people are sick, y'all. They sick. I told y'all. This world is not what y'all think it is. But we're gonna rock out with this last video. Now this dude right here, he's a former I'm quite sure he got fired now, but he's I think he was a CPS worker or caseworker or something. I know he was in there. So but yeah, man, we just gotta do better, y'all. Seriously, we gotta do better as humans.
My name is Carlos Morales. I worked for Child Protective Services in San Antonio, Texas from February 2012 to March 2013. And I'm guilty. Guilty of what many other Americans are guilty of, which is believing that an agency, even though it's committed atrocity after atrocity, has the best interests of children and families in mind. I'm guilty of working for an agency that has hampered freedom repeatedly, that has done things that are so unconstitutional that it would make the DEA blush. I'm guilty of working for an agency that has promoted the drug war in a way, again, that would make the DEA blush. Because we've removed children for the faults of their parents, but those faults are them smoking pot while they were in high school. I'm guilty of working for an agency that has thrown children in foster homes, that has kidnapped children and thrown them in foster homes, where they're 6 times more likely to die than in abusive homes. I'm guilty of working for Child Protective Services. Within CPS, we hurt. We did not help. We did what Adolf Hitler always spoke of, which is to take control of children. Because by doing so, you take control of the future. Of course, following the Prussian system, the United States took over children first through public education, but now they do it through the state ownership of children, because within the United States, the parent does not own the child. The state does. Within Child Protective Services, there's always this claim that all the bad things that occur is because of a few bad apples, because of a few bad individuals. That's why they have a bad reputation. Not that the entire agency is based on the idea that it is important to remove children from their homes. It's based around the idea that you are guilty until proven innocent. We used force, not finesse, because that's all the state knows. That's all the state can do. It's kind of to take it back to me. In my first case, which was my best case, we went out to a home. When we got there were DEA agents swarmed around the house, and I could hear the DEA speaking badly about one of the parents. I saw the door. The door had been broken open. I got into the house, and there was this smell, this terrible smell, but I couldn't quite figure out what it was. The couches were flipped over. There were beer cans in the back. There was no electricity to knock out this terrible smell. Man, it just stunk the entire house. I turned around the corner, and I saw another door that had been broken in, and I realized what the smell was. It was the shit of children, fecal matter, all on the walls, all on the floor, because that's where the drug dealers were storing their drugs. In order to prevent people from coming in and stealing it, it was a way to prevent that. Of course, this kind of disgusting display of actions by drug dealers would be impossible without the drug war, which is funded by the state. You know, that's kind of outside the point. What occurred afterwards was I left the house and I heard a woman screaming. That woman was the mother. She was begging for her child. She was stating that it was because of a bad situation that they were in the home. They had only been there for a few days. We weren't able to figure out whether or not that was true, but we could tell that this woman was in quite despair. The CPS investigator I was with, though, well, she didn't really care. She showed a lack of empathy. A lack of empathy that is all around the agency. The woman cried, and the investigator actually laughed at her despair. I heard some other people speaking. They were running towards the house. They were the neighbors. They were family members. And they begged to be able to keep the children, to prevent them from going to the foster home. And even though supposedly Child Protective Services aims to keep families together, there wasn't even an attempt to check if these children should go with that family. They were yelling about how foster homes are places where children are routinely molested, drugged, and abused. And the investigator I was with yet again laughed at this idea. And in my mind, in my naive mind, I thought, we're the heroes today. We're the ones who are preventing these kids from living a bad life. We threw them in the back of my car. We drove off, threw them in a foster home. And again, I felt like I was a hero. But in those foster homes, those kids were drugged. They were abused. They were thrown into another public system. And they were no better off than when we first got there. In any case, they were much worse off. And you got to kind of ask yourself, who is an investigator? Who are these people who are taking children away? Well, it's not like they're well prepared for what they're doing. You see, in Child Protective Services, all you need is a bachelor's degree. And that bachelor's degree, in some cases, was a degree in saxophone jazz from Berklee College of Music. That, coupled with 2 months of training, is what makes an investigator. That investigator has to be a therapist because they have to be able to tell when someone is lying. They also have to be able to ask questions without bias to children who are 4 years old. They have to be a police officer because they have to go into highly dangerous situations, or what they believe to be highly dangerous situations. They have to be a judge because they have to be able to dictate what's going to occur to these people. And they have to be a psychic because they have to use the powerful tool of violent central planning to dictate exactly what's going to happen to these people. Be able to guess with their wonderful aura of imagination what's going to occur to these children. There is a hero complex, and there's a culture of martyrdom that goes on in Child Protective Services, because what you're told is that you're the one who's going to help all these children. You're the one who's going to save all the kids, and you're God Almighty. You see, what happens is, it's not as Alex Jones puts it, where there's a bonus given for every single child that is kidnapped by a CPS investigator. No. You see, what happens is that you get reviewed every month. And for every child that has been kidnapped from their home, the investigator is given a raise by the end of the year. You see, the locus of control is always removed by investigator to investigator, from supervisor to the state, in order to not have to have the feeling of self-responsibility. And while removing that locus of control, you can always blame any kind of inaccuracies or terrible atrocities that occur on someone else. So it's never as in front. It's never as clear that simply you're given a bonus for every child that you steal. But in many, many ways, you're still considered the hero, because the person who removes 3 kids in a week, well, that person's applauded. The person who prevents 3 children from being removed in a week, well, that person's called lazy. And what I saw in Child Protective Services was not the prevention of abuse, because physical abuse was rarely what we ever dealt with. I'm an individual who recognizes and acknowledges the fact that physical abuse traumatizes a child in ways that we can't even possibly imagine. Study after study shows that even though we use the term spanking, it really is a violent action against children. But in Child Protective Services, spanking isn't what's incorrect. No, you're allowed to get away with that. What's incorrect is physical and emotional neglect, which are 2 terms that are easily abused, and they're abused by Child Protective Services. You see, if you admit to using marijuana on a weekend when you weren't with your kids, that's considered emotional and physical neglect. And that can lead to the removal of children. Because yet again, we're just continuously using the drug war to destroy these families. But what's even worse is the kind of evidence that we used. You see, an anonymous reporter can call in to Child Protective Services and say, oh, these parents, they're molesting children, they're abusing them, they're snorting cocaine off their asses of their children, they're part of the mafia, they have guns. You see, they can make up whatever they want, and Child Protective Services will go out and carry out the investigation, which we will ask 4-year-old children if they've ever been touched by their parent. Again, we're using shaky evidence based off the memory of the memory of the memory of the memory of another individual, and supposedly with that, that's enough evidence to call for the removal of a child. And what's best is that even if we're able to disprove every single claim, if we can get the parent to admit to anything in regards to drugs, we still get the removal. So even if the claim and allegations weren't even in regards to that, we can still use it to take them away. And you have to wonder, why is it Child Protective Services has the incentive to take away children and not to help them out? Well, it's because for every single removal Child Protective Services gets, that's another grant that the state will give them. Because Child Protective Services is based off of this system. And the collusion between foster homes and CPS is even more tragic. Because you see, foster homes get more money for every single child that they get. This is how we have 650,000 kids right now in foster homes. But what makes it worse is that for every single diagnosis a child gets, that foster home is given more money. Now, these diagnoses, they're not the child being paralyzed. No. You see, what happens is you take a child, you throw them into a state hospital, and then that's where they come up with the diagnosis. You see, if a kid is removed from his home, his church, his community, his school, you throw him into a foster home where he's more likely to be abused, raped, and murdered, where he doesn't want to be, that kid might lash out. Mike Doherty. He might not be able to pay attention to school. He might not be able to pay attention to the dictates of adults who he does not know. Well, it's not the situation that's wrong. It's not the social order that's wrong. No, it's that kid is suffering from a mental illness. It needs to be remedied through the use of drugs. You see, that kid, according to them, has oppositional defiant disorder, ADHD, manic depression, schizophrenia, and insomnia. Well, that's now several diagnoses that child has, which means more money for the foster home. And this is how you get 80% of foster children being diagnosed with a mental disorder. 80%. And those children, on average, being in those foster homes for 2 years. These drugs, they're not light. There are 9 million children in the United States on antipsychotic medications with over 40 side effects. And there's no clinical tests on these kids because they consider that to be immoral. No, they make guinea pigs out of children. They make guinea pigs out of people in the midst of their development, at the worst points of their life. And what's even worse is when your child ends up in foster home, well, that's when you have to go to court You see, but the issue is that the judge and the prosecutor are paid by the same people, and those people benefit from those children being removed. I've had judges check their email in the middle of court cases while a mother is crying, and I've seen judges laugh at these people because they think they're irresponsible or terrible because CPS stated so. It's so unconstitutional that it makes you kind of hurt because there's no jury. It's all the dictates of the judge. It can cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars to try to get out of a case. I was recently helping out someone who was in West Virginia, and it cost them $200,000 to try and disprove a claim that their child was being molested. And is there any kind of money given back to them? Well, of course not. Because this is a game to them. I've heard prosecutors, defense attorneys, and judges joking outside of courtrooms about the cases that they're involved in. So what you have to think about is, what do you do if Child Protective Services comes after you and your family? There's a good chance that we're all one call away, if you're a parent, from Child Protective Services coming after you. First off, if your child is in public schooling, get them out. But I mean, if you can't, what you have to do is let your child know about CPS, even if they're 5 years old, which sounds daunting, it sounds terrible, but you see, because Child Protective Services and the state owns a child, they can come to a child at any point and ask them questions. And that's what builds their evidence. You see, as an investigator, I would go out to public schools, remove a child from the classroom that he might now already want to be in, throw them in a room, usually a dark room, where the child is scared, and there's a large Hispanic man who's asking him questions regarding sexual molestation by his parents. The child probably wants to leave. He probably wants to get out. And he might answer yes or no to questions that he does not understand. And what that child does not realize is that that yes or no is sealing his fate. That's why you need to let your child know about CPS, and to know that no matter what question they ask, tell them to tell the CPS investigator, I do not want to talk to you. No matter what, no matter how pushy they are, just simply state, I don't want to talk to you. Now, if you've gotten to that point, what occurs next is the CPS investigator coming to your home. Hello, my name is Dan. I'm from Child Protective Services. Can I please come into your home? This is where you state no. Although I'm not the biggest fan of the Constitution, you still have the Fourth Amendment, and occasionally gets to be respected. A Child Protective Service investigator is not allowed into your home unless he has a warrant. And if it's an anonymous report, well, then he has nothing. He can't get a warrant. The actual amount of paperwork and judges and everyone else that he has to go through in order to get a warrant is incredibly daunting to an investigator who's probably bored and inefficient in their job because he's a state worker. So don't let them inside your house, because if you let them inside your house, they can use 3 dirty plates, right? They'll use 3 dirty plates as evidence of hoarding and be able to remove your kid for that. And it's occurred. It's not a joke. So don't let them in. The investigator will then ask you questions. They'll ask you about your family history. They'll ask you about domestic violence. They'll ask you about how you're raised as a kid. And they might be gentle. They might be nice when they do it. But they're not your fucking therapist. Okay? No matter what has occurred in your life, do not admit that you were abused as a child, because they'll use that as evidence against you. Do not admit that your husband ever hit you, because they'll use that as evidence against you. I was dealing with one case, this was actually in Texas, where the mother admitted that her husband had hit her. This husband, though, had been out of the house for 3 years, and they still removed the child because they called it a risk factor. So don't admit to anything. Secondly, record the interview. No matter what, get a recording device, get out your phone. Most people have smartphones, but if you have even a tape recorder they can buy for $1 at a Goodwill, use it. Because the interview that is given to the investigator, well, it's not given word to word. That's not how the report is written. It's a summary of the investigation. So based off of the biases of that investigator, that's how they write out the report, a lot of times through memory. And then they'll use that against you. So make sure you record everything. Say as little as possible. They're looking for contradictions.
most importantly, don't trust them. They are not looking to help you. They are the enemy. They may ask for a drug test. Now, this is where you have to decide. Usually what they have is an oral drug test. They put it in your mouth. You have to wait like 2 or 3 minutes until the saliva gets in, and they'll be able to tell what drugs you're on. If you have not used any forms of medication in the last 3 days, if you have not smoked marijuana, used Quaaludes, or any other drug in the last 3 days, you're probably going to pass this test and you'll be fine. If not, they're most likely going to try to get a warrant, if the allegation is one of drug use, to do a urine sample test. And it gets a little bit more tricky here. I will state there are some websites and maybe head shops that sell things which allow you to pass those tests. I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but I'm sure you can find it yourself with just a little internet search. Say no to private interviews with your child. They will manipulate your child in order to try to get information. If the allegation is of physical abuse, you can bring your child up to the door and lift up their shirt to show that there is no bruising, and you can bring the child to a doctor afterwards, and they will take pictures to show that there's no physical abuse, and you will keep that report. Do not give that report back to the CPS investigator unless you end up in court. Expect coercion and write everything down. See, what you want to do is you want to keep a journal. On that journal, you want to write on the header, "Notes to my attorney." This ensures attorney-client confidentiality, and this will prevent them from being able to use it in court. In that journal, write notes on every meeting, notes on every visitation, notes about the court hearings, notes on anything out of the ordinary that occurs, counseling appointment notes, notes about if there's a psychological evaluation, a record of all drug tests and results, and any visitation notes if you get to that situation. If you go to court, lawyer up. There's no way to win unless you yourself are a lawyer. You see, judges don't trust the parents. They may trust attorneys. Make sure you get a family court lawyer, though, because most lawyers are not equipped to be able to fight in a court case where the Constitution is absolutely not respected, and neither are any of the normal laws of the land. Now, we have to realize is why this is important to activists. Anyone who fights against the system will be fought against by the system. I actually left Texas before I even made any claims about ever working for Child Protective Services on my podcast, The Renegade Variety Hour. I was afraid. I was afraid of what CPS could do. Now, thankfully, I don't have, any kids. I'm not married. My siblings are all over 18, so the people that they can attack are limited. But if you have a family, and say you're a marijuana activist, well, in Austin, Texas, they kidnapped a kid for a parent being a marijuana activist, and that kid died in foster home. Don't fuck around. Don't smoke weed in public if you're a parent. I know to some of the civil disobedience folks, this seems like you're giving up. It's not. Fight for your causes. Stand up for yourself. But realize that they will come, and they will come for you. I think, in conclusion, Child Protective Services is a system that profits off of converting children into cash while destroying their families and communities. Stay strong. Stay righteous in your indignation towards this system, towards this criminal enterprise. And I will continue to fight against this criminal organization with every breath I take. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. I mean, it's quite obvious, y'all, if y'all just pay attention to all these agencies and organizations that they put together. 800,000 children don't just go missing in our country a year without some type of explanation behind it. So, God bless y'all. I hope everybody is all right. I know a lot of people are really going through it right now. There's a lot of people being harmed across our world and our country, and we have to really speak up as a collective and use our voices and stop being afraid. You can't be afraid, y'all. We gotta stop being afraid. We have to use our voices. We gotta keep talking about this. We gotta start pounding on doors. Um, just using our voices out there, like in the streets at these, government offices, exposing them in large groups, numbers. It takes us to do this. Enough is enough. I know y'all see it. I know y'all see how they is coming after us. If you still don't see it and still don't understand, we just gonna say a prayer for y'all. But thank y'all for rocking out with me. Thank y'all for just always being who y'all are, and just always be yourself. Be your authentic self, no matter who or what doesn't like you. And always remember, you do not have to fit in. You do not have to fit in. Be different. You understand what I'm saying? It's better to be different and be on the outside looking in. It really is. But God bless y'all. I love y'all. And until the next live, please just try to be safe out there and be smart and be aware. Um, there's a lot of stuff online about this CPS with the legal kidnapping. Please start researching, y'all. That's why I do these videos, to help y'all research and learn, and it's simple. A lot of times we waste our time looking and watching stuff that has no value, that don't teach you nothing, that doesn't awaken you and make you think outside the box about nothing. But that's why there's people like me on here doing this for y'all. So it's time to wake up. It's time to stop being afraid. Like, it's time to really wake up, y'all. These people is really just taking children at an all-time high. So thank y'all for tuning in. God bless y'all, and I'll holler at y'all in a few. I don't know what my next live videos will be, but I got some things that I gotta take care of in my own personal life. So y'all stay safe out there, and I'll catch y'all soon. Alright? Peace.